Hi, everyone. Today we are live with a summary of What Would the Rockefellers Do by Garrett B. Gunderson. My name is May Doldelau. The blog is yesfinanciallyfree.com. Thank you for being on today's live. If you are on YouTube, then subscribe to the channel. And if you are on Facebook, then like the page and share this with your friends and followers. Just so you know a little bit about myself, before I begin, we're going to summarize this book. What Would the Rockefellers Do? It's actually a really good book. A friend lent it to me, and we're going to talk about it. So before I begin, just a little bit about myself. I live in Waikiki, Honolulu, Hawaii, with my husband Jamel and our 7-year-old son Jordan. We own this condo and another one down the street as an Airbnb business. Now, back in 2011, I was really bad with money. I had over $40,000 of credit card debts. Hi, Sadat. Welcome to today's live. I had over $40,000 credit card debts, 8 different credit cards, lines of credit. And I finally paid it off by 2016, April. Improved our family's net worth by $500,000, was making almost $500 a month in passive income, and quit my job. So I was working at a bank full-time. I quit. My last day was December 23rd, 2016. And I created Finance Freedom Mastermind, which is a business I created where I have groups of people who come online on Zoom meetings, and we learn how to do what I did, which is not only just pay off debt, but create wealth at the same time, improve net worth, create passive income so that you can create more free time. For me, it was quitting my job. For you, it might be going part-time. It might be switching to a job that pays less, but it's way more fulfilling. Or just having passive income might make you more confident at your current job, and you just make more money because you'll be more aggressive and more which bank? A bank in Hawaii. I used to work at a bank in Hawaii here. So summary of the book. Okay. And if you're not good with money, you can become better with money. Okay. That was the point of that story. Okay. Because I was not good with it. I had no idea about it, didn't have it. And now I'm much better at it. So let's talk about this book. It's a really cool book. What Would the Rockefellers Do by Garrett Gunderson. Now, Garrett Gunderson, he talks about the Rockefellers. I guess he's an entrepreneur, financial advocate, author of the New York Times bestseller financial blockbuster Killing Sacred Cows, and founder of Inc. 500 financial firm. Okay, so let's talk about his book. This is kind of interesting because the Rockefeller family was very rich. Yeah, Rockefeller family and the Vanderbilt family. Okay, Rockefellers and Vanderbilts. Now, the Vanderbilts had as much money as the Rockefellers. Okay, they were both very rich. Now, the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts died, and they left their money to their children and their grandchildren, all that. The Vanderbilt money was gone with the next generation. No more Vanderbilt money today. But the Rockefeller Foundation, Rockefeller money is still there. So how come one family, the Vanderbilts, lost all their money, whereas the other family, the Rockefellers, still have it? So he talks about how they did it. So I'm going to tell you. Basically, they left behind directions on what to do with the money. Okay, so they put in a trust, and they also had a family office to manage the trust. Okay, so somebody's in charge of it. And what they do is they lend the money out. They don't just give money away. Okay, so if someone in the Rockefeller family wants money to like go to college or to start a business or buy a house or whatever, then they can borrow money from the trust instead of a bank. So the good thing is the interest on the loan goes back to the trust instead of a bank. So they cut out the middleman. So that's one thing that gives them more money. They make themselves their own bank, cutting out all that extra fees and interest. Second, when that grandchild or whoever borrows money from the trust, if they pay it back, they get to borrow more. So it's just like you pay back, you get to borrow again, pay back, get to borrow again. Okay. Now, if they don't pay back, so obviously some people don't pay back their loans, right? Now, if you had a lot of Rockefeller children, none of them ever paid back, your trust would go out of business, right? You'd have no money. So what do? When the children are born, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, all these descendants, when they're born, they buy a whole life insurance policy. The trust pays for a whole life insurance policy on that child. So if they take out a loan and they don't pay it back, when they die, the whole life insurance policy, the benefit goes to the trust and replenishes the trust with the money that they didn't pay back. So that's how the trust keeps money in it year after year after year. It can still afford paying a family office to manage this whole trust. So isn't that amazing? It's interesting, right? So that's how they do it. That's how the Rockefellers still have money, whereas the Vanderbilts don't have any money, because the Vanderbilts don't have that kind of a system, okay? All right, that's really cool. So one of the cool things to learn from that is that you and me and anyone could start a legacy with whole life insurance, right? Now, the interesting thing about whole life, and he talks a lot about whole life insurance because that's the key to how they created a legacy. The interesting thing about whole life insurance is that it's guaranteed. So as long as you make sure you have a good company that's been around at least 100 years, has a very good rating, okay? So you want to pick a very good company. Now, if they're a very good company, the likelihood of them going out of business is very low because they've lasted through all the Great Depressions, okay? Now, if you put all your money in the stock market, the likelihood of you keeping it through a Great Depression, you don't know, right? Ups and downs, crazy it is, right? But these life insurance companies have been around, all right? So they haven't gone out of business. So you want to pick ones that are really strong. They guarantee a definite benefit, okay? They guarantee a definite benefit. And if you have certain riders added in, it grows over time. So if you have this thing called a paid up addition rider, which means you pay for additional insurance within your policy, then you can increase the amount of money that your policy will pay out in the end. Okay, now the interesting thing about whole life insurance is it has cash value. So there's term life and whole life. Term life is cheaper. There's no cash value. You just pay it for a term, maybe 20 years, maybe 30 years. I have a term life policy right now for 20 years. And then I also have whole life insurance. Okay, so I have both. All right. Now, you can pay for term life insurance, but there's no benefit after your term life insurance period is over. You have to either renew it or just let it go. If you renew it, it's going to be a lot more expensive because you're older, right? Because life insurance becomes more expensive the older you get, right? Because you're more likely to die the older you get, right? So that's the thing about term life insurance. So he says you shouldn't have any term life insurance. So he's the opposite of like Susie Orman and all them. He says just get whole life insurance. And if you can't afford whole life insurance right now, then get term life that's convertible, okay? So when you get whole life insurance, it gets cash value in it. So what is cash value? It means there's an amount of money in there that you can actually withdraw from the policy, although, you can withdraw from the policy, or you can borrow it and pay it back. Okay, so there's two options. Now he says the great thing about borrowing and paying back from whole life insurance is that you become your own bank, same like the Rockefellers. So instead of having to apply for a loan at a bank and pay them interest, you still have to pay the insurance company interest, okay? But you get the loan without any hassle. You don't have to fill out an application and say, I want to pull out my cash value, and they'll send you a check, and you'll get it within a couple days, depending on the mail, and you get your money, and that's it. And then you can pay it back, or you can choose not to, or you can pay it back in any way you like. You can set up a payment plan back like it was a bank and pay it back. Now, the interesting thing about whole life insurance is that when you borrow out, you still get dividends. So you actually accrue dividends on your cash value. And there's a set dividend rate when you get your policy, the set rate. Our policy is set minimum rate is 4%, which is a lot higher than a savings account, right? So as long as you keep your whole life insurance policy, keep paying your premiums, keep it active, keep it going, then you will get that 4% dividend rate on your cash value. Now, there's different kinds of policies. Most people like myself, okay, when we get whole life insurance, most of the cash value comes later. And in the first couple of years, it's like none. But he says, in this book, you can get whole life insurance structured differently. The insurance agent will get less of a commission, but there will be more cash value in it in the first year and the second year. It's more cash value rich so that you can start pulling money out, borrow, pay back, do whatever you need to do with it. And it will accrue dividends faster, okay? So there's a way to do it more effective for you. It would be less compensation for your insurance agent, which is why most people can't get that kind, because their insurance agents want their commissions, right? And so you have to talk to a special cash flow specialist to get the right kind of whole life insurance. And you can kind of tell, because if you get the whole life insurance and the first year the cash value is nothing, then you know that you don't have the right type for this thing. Now, if you already have whole life insurance, like I do, keep it, especially if you've had it for a few years, because you've already paid the commission anyway, and your premium is based on your age, so it's already cheaper. And unless you can find a much, much better deal, it's probably better just keep what you have and do the paid up additions. But you have to make sure you have a rider to do paid up additions, okay? Now, the interesting thing about paid up additions is you can pay for more insurance, right? So even though you maybe have a policy that's $100,000, if you do paid up additions, you can increase it to be worth more than $100,000. Could be $250,000 by the time you die. Okay, so if you have these paid up additions, it increases the value of your whole life insurance, and it also increases the cash value in there. Now, that's the basic idea. He has some cool examples. He also has some interesting ideas that I never thought of. So one of the interesting ideas I never thought of, I have heard of, getting cash value, borrow out, pay it back. I actually did that to buy our first condo. My husband and I did that. We borrowed money out of our policy to help pay the down payment on our first condo. Now, we haven't paid it back yet. We're still figuring that out. And the interest rate is like 7%. So it's not very good. Now, the dividend rate is over 4%. So I guess the spread is like 3%, because when you borrow out, it pays dividends on your cash value as if you didn't borrow it out. So you're still making money on it. So it's kind of interesting. So the loan is actually like 3%, I guess. So it's not a horrible rate or anything like that. But basically, that's how it works. So I know how to do that already, but I never thought of it this way. He mentioned some other things. He said, when you have whole life insurance, you have certainty. You have certainty that the money will be there when you die, right? So you know for sure that when you die, there will be maybe $250,000 for me and my husband. We each have $250,000. So we'll be able to leave $500,000 to our heirs, just with the whole life we have now, if we do paid up additions, okay? So that's something that's, if you have it in your head and you have that certainty, he says that makes your life more fulfilling. You're less worried about the future, so you're more productive in the present, which makes you end up making more money anyway and being more happy, successful. So I've never really thought of it that way before. Creating certainty will relieve stress and worry from your life. So I was like, that's an interesting idea. He also said, get as much life insurance as you can, because your life is more valuable than whatever you get anyway. Your life is very valuable. And so the amount of life insurance you can get, as much as you can get, definitely get it, because you're actually worth more than that. And then it's like buying a legacy. You're buying your net worth. Instead of having to build it up over time, you have it already guaranteed right there, because you have a table you get when you get whole life insurance. It's all guaranteed. Now, he says if you can't afford whole life insurance, buy term convertible and then convert when you can. But term life is a bad investment because it gets more expensive over time and you never get the money back. Whereas whole life insurance gets cheaper over time because the dividends you make can actually pay off your premiums if you want them to. Yeah, so you can actually get it so that later in life, you don't even have to pay your premiums because your dividends actually cover your premiums. So it becomes cheaper over time. So it was all very good arguments. He had also some other examples, but I'm running out of time. So the other examples of how to use it to create a legacy and how to save tax money and how to get more money to your legacy, but also get more money for you to have a better lifestyle when you retire, go click on the blog link because I put it in my blog. I put all his examples. It's a very good book. I highly recommend it. It's not that long to read, so it's actually really good. It also asks you questions about your life purpose. What do you want to say to your heirs when they die? And I started writing it out with my husband, actually, while reading this book. We wrote down things we want to pass on, knowledge we want to pass on. It's a good exercise to do, okay? Now that I know me and Jamal actually have about $500,000 we could leave to our heirs guaranteed already. It's like, wow, we already have a legacy already. It kind of does make me feel kind of cool. Anyway, hope that was great summary for you. Check out the blog for even more details in the link below. Have a great day, and I will see you again tomorrow, same time. If you're not a subscriber yet, go to yesfinanciallyfree.com, join the email list, and then you'll get emails on when I'll be live, links directly to the blog post in your inbox, and you can check the replays anytime. Just go to yesfinanciallyfree.com, put in your first name, email address, and hit the red yes button, and you'll be right on the email list. But you also get a free ebook, Working Parents Guide to Financial Freedom, emailed you directly to your inbox. Okay, see you again later. Aloha, bye. Take care, guys. Have a great day.